Hi, guys. Welcome to another edition of Balloonhead Live. I'm your host, as usual. My name is Marcelo Enestroza, and on today's edition of the show, I'll be discussing Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 9, All Those Who Wonder. All right, guys. Well, in this edition, of the first season of Strange New Worlds, our crew get entrusted with investigating a barren planet in which I guess a Starfleet ship, was actually marooned there. So our crew go and investigate this Starfleet ship who that crashed on this barren planet. And this episode was uh really a misfire for me, to be honest. I thought it was too derivative of other sci-fi material that we've seen before in the past, specifically Alien. I mean, for example, when the Enterprise crew uh start investigating the ship, they find this really cool alien guarding this little girl. And after Nurse Chapel does a examination on this really cool alien, she finds some, she finds some discoloration on the alien skin, and eventually, this Gorn hatchling burst out of the back of the alien guy, killing him, and the entire episode is formed around the crew trying to not get eaten by these Gorn hatchling things that eventually, grow into, I guess, what will become the Gorn. Now, that concept in itself is cool. I had no problem with that. The problem that I had with it is that various moments throughout the episode, as our crew is trying to evade getting eaten by these Gorn hatchlings, the director, chooses several POV shots of of our crew running away, but the POV shots that they do and they select are POV shots right out of Predator, and I'm like, guys, you can do better than that. Just just like there is paying homage to something, but there is, there is paying homage to something, and then there's ripping something off. And I think in this instance, this episode went too far the other way. I think they just ripped Predator off, and they sort of Frankensteined it into fit this specific episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. The other thing that I did not enjoy one goddamn bit was, you guys have heard me complain before about the lack of number one being there with the crew. And for example, the crew members that go down to investigate this are Pike, Chapel, Mbenga, a nurse, Laan, and Uhura and Spock. I think I got everybody. But number one doesn't go down. She just stays on the ship. Now, why the hell didn't number one go down? I don't understand. What was the point of having number one on the ship, right? Why wasn't she involved with the episode? I have no idea. Look, if you wanted to keep number one on the ship, I would have been fine with that. But here, as the episode goes along, why don't you show number one on the ship trying to establish communications with the away team on the planet? Uh, why does Rebecca Ferguson constantly get sidelined throughout the first season of Strange New Worlds? I don't understand it. It was like, okay, it was like, all right, we're gonna take a fantastic actress in, did I just say Rebecca Ferguson? I meant Rebecca Romaine. We're gonna take a fantastic actress in Rebecca Romaine, but we're hardly gonna use her, and we're gonna sideline her for half the episodes. Again, she is the second highest ranking officer on the goddamn ship, and she is never with Pike. I I do not understand why the writers of Strange New Worlds keep sidelining her and putting her aside. Why have her on the show then? It makes no sense. And another issue that I had is, okay, you have Chapel in Benga, and you have a nurse's assistant with Chapel as well. Why the hell did you bring your entire nursing staff down to the planet with you? Either bring Mbanga or Chapel. You don't need your entire nursing crew on the goddamn planet, because if you have your entire nursing staff on the goddamn planet, what who's on the ship to to take care of the other people that may get sick on the ship? If something happens on the ship, you have no more nurses on the ship. So I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. um yeah, I look. I have all these complaints. There are so many things in this episode that didn't make sense and didn't work. And I haven't even gotten to the thing that really enraged me throughout the course of this episode. Well, I'm gonna get to that now, because I'm not gonna hang around too much longer, and I'm not gonna dwell on the mistakes that this episode made in my mind, because I don't want to sit here and be negative about Star Trek. I want to like Stranger Worlds, but it's constantly disappointing me in small little ways. With that being said, I still think Stranger Worlds is a whole lot better than Picard season 2 was and Discovery season 4 was. Okay? And I still think uh um Strange New Worlds has potential and it can get better. But to me, it seems like the writers constantly get in a room, they take everybody's ideas or opinions on what would make a good episode, or what would make a good collection of episodes for a season. They take everybody's input, they throw it up on the wall, and then they try to make a cohesive story of, of what everybody came up with. And you can't do it that way. You cannot do it that way. You have to take the best ideas of the group, stick it up on the wall, and then take out the little pieces that don't work, and then structure a narrative, a season narrative around that. You can't expect to make a cohesive narrative around a bungled mess. And I think, for the most part, now granted, there are a couple episodes that I've really enjoyed this season, but for the most part, the storytelling in Strange New Worlds feels like it has no no direction. Okay. When Strange New Worlds was announced, we were told that Strange New Worlds would be episodic, which it has been, and I've really appreciated that. But the other thing that we were told is that Strange New Worlds would have episodic, and underneath that, it would have a serialized story that would connect from episode to episode to lead to something bigger. Okay, we have one more episode left of Strange New World season 1, and I have no idea where we're going with the season. We are driving towards nothing. There is no continuous story thread running underneath the episodic episodes. The episodic episodes is all that we have. So I'm like, guys, did you forget something here, or what? Yeah, I don't know. The thing about look, I'm just gonna say one more thing. The thing that really didn't make this episode work for me is that eventually the crew find a way to beat the Gorn hatchlings, and the way that they beat the Gorn hatchlings is they discover that the Gorn hatchlings don't like the cold, so they eventually figure out how to manipulate the systems on the ship to basically shower the ship with cold air, and that's how they beat the Gorn hatchlings, which incidentally is the same way that Sigourney Weaver beat the alien, in the Alien movies. Okay, whatever. I'll let that go. I'll let that go. But um, the thing that really drove me crazy is that eventually, one of my favorite characters of this series in concept, because we have seen very very little of him, and Hemmer gets infected with these with the Gorn hatchlings, and Hemmer has to sacrifice himself, and Hemmer basically goes outside the ship and he commits suicide. And I'm like, this does not work. When Hemmer dies, I do not feel a single goddamn thing. If I do feel something, I feel anger. And you know why I feel anger? Because Hemmer was not built. He was not he was not properly Hemmer as a character was an empty shell because I didn't know anything about him. I knew close to nothing about him. So how do they expect me to feel sadness and pain if I don't feel anything about him, because I don't know Hemmer as a character? So when Hemmer does that and he sacrifices himself for the rest of the crew, it means nothing. That scene had me wanting to break my television. I was like, this writing is atrocious, it's awful, and it doesn't make any sense. And again, you know why it doesn't make any sense? Because Hemmer was not properly given time for us to care about him. He was in 2 episodes. He featured in 2 episodes of Strange New Worlds this season. 2 episodes. And after 2 episodes, you expect us to care about this guy who we hardly even know? I don't know about anyone else, but that to me is horrible storytelling. All right. Um hold on. I'm gonna put the ticker on the bottom here because I always forget that. All right. Listen, with all this, with all the complaints that I have with this episode to me was way more enjoyable, way more enjoyable than last week's episode. If you guys watched last week's review of of Strange New Worlds, you noticed why I I forgot to rate the episode because I going back and thinking about last week's episode, it was fun, but the acting was kind of bad, and it really didn't work the way I wanted it to. Okay. And this week's episode was structurally a mess. There were a lot of things that didn't make sense at all. And it drove me up a wall. And, but with all that being said, this episode was enjoyable. So, with that in mind, if I were to rate this episode from 1 to 10, I would give it a 5, right down the middle, despite all of the problems that I had with it. All right, guys. So that'll do it for my review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 9. If you've seen this episode, in the comments below, tell me what you liked about it. Tell me what you didn't like about it. But listen, If you guys want to contact me and yell at me or talk to me about anything else having to do with science fiction or anything else at all, the best place to find me is on Twitter. I'm at CreekFanatic88. There you see my Twitter handle scrolling on your bottom on the bottom of the screen right there on the little ticker. Come and say hi to me, and I would love to talk to you about uh, Star Trek or anything else. But as I switch the boards here, because I always fucking forget to switch the boards. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for indulging me for as long as you have, for as long as you have um, on Strange New Worlds. I really, really appreciate the fact that anybody cares about my opinion having to do with Star Trek or anything else. So I thank you guys for being here on a week to week basis. But until next time, as always, I'll see you when I see you.
So much happened here, and so much is about to.